Greetings, students, and welcome to Living University's World Literature 262 course. I am David Moss, your tour guide, ready to guide you through the second portion of this voyage, again exploring some fascinating vistas, representing people's aspirations, fears, hopes, and frustrations, aspiring to, as Victorian poet Matthew Arnold expressed, to know the best that has been thought or said in the world. As I stated in the previous vignette, the crowning uniqueness of the human being as preeminent of all of God's creatures is his self-reflexive ability to contemplate. The late Count Alfred Korzybski, father of general semantics, would explain this capability as a product of time binding, the ability to merge past, present, and future through the means of symbols, that is, our written words. From an ever-changing, tumultuous cascade of sensory impressions, human beings are able to isolate and fixate upon a relative handful of point events, assigning significance and meaning to them. Of all of God's creatures, mankind alone has been granted the role of namer and signifier. We read this, of course, in Genesis 2:20. Again, in this role we have carved up our space, imposing imaginary lines of longitude and latitude, classified our flora and fauna, developed gradational systems for light waves and sound waves, making possible the spectrum of color along the artist's palette, as well as the different families of scales from which composers craft their symphonies. We have reified the chemical explosions within our nervous systems, assigning them a position on an emotional scale ranging from euphoric to despondent, moving from the peak of exhilaration, as we see in Psalm 150, to the depths of despair, as we see in Psalm 69. Although the details of David's murder and adultery were recorded in 2 Samuel 11, his emotional response was captured for us in Psalm 52. Through time binding, the human being has developed the capacity to preserve or freeze time segments, assigning given points of value and significance relative to other happenings. Assigning the significance and meaning to events along the river of time has led our society to exclaim, "Never again," when contemplating the crematorium of Auschwitz, as well as to anticipate a future time when nations will, in the words of Isaiah, beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Now, I would like to explain some of the procedures of this class, letting you know what to expect as we move from one unit to the next. The method I have been using is a form of the Socratic method, asking a series of questions to enable the student to draw his own conclusions. The questions that I have submitted are a variety of what educators have described as Cornell notes. Now, from the online Wikipedia, we read the following explanation. The Cornell method provides a systematic format for condensing and organizing notes. The student divides his paper into two columns. The note-taking column, usually on the right, is twice the size of the questions. That's the keyword column on the left. The student should leave 5 to 7 lines, or about 2 inches at the bottom of the page. Notes from a lecture or teaching are written in the note-taking column. Notes usually consist of the main ideas of the text or the lecture, or long ideas are paraphrased. Long sentences should absolutely be avoided. Symbols or abbreviations are used instead. To assist with future reviews, relevant questions, which should be recorded as soon as possible so that the lecture and questions will be fresh in the student's mind, or keywords are written in the keyword column. These notes can be taken from any source of information, such as fiction or nonfiction books, DVDs, lectures, textbooks, or anything else. So within 24 hours of taking the notes, the student is encouraged to write questions and then write a brief summary in the bottom 5 to 7 lines of the page. This helps to increase understanding of the topic. When studying for either a test or quiz, the student has a concise but detailed and relevant record of previous classes. When reviewing the material, the student can cover the note taking on the right column while attempting to answer the questions, the key words, in the left column. The student is encouraged to reflect on the material and reflect and review the notes regularly. Over the years, I have learned that the best way to master a subject, especially a subject that we are unfamiliar with, is to prepare to teach it to somebody else. Absolutely the best way to teach oneself an unfamiliar subject is to systematically ask and then succinctly answer the same questions. It's like playing the game of Jeopardy, turning statements into questions and then the questions back into statements. In these units that you will be working through, I recommend that you give the college try to answer every question. You might from time to time come up with some of your own questions as you go through the readings. That's fine and that's good. After all of you have submitted your assignments, I will share with you my answers and conclusions. All of the test questions have been generated from these processed Cornell notes. Well, this is Dave Moss, your tour guide, welcoming you to an exciting semester of exploring the world's literature.